thanks for inviting me. It's a wonderful event, and I really enjoy. So, the metaverse, because we define what it is, because we define what we see, what other people can see in it, we define the experience, and the experience affects the brain and affects our memory, then it is feasible that we can use the metaverse in order to enhance the brain. So if we relate to it as a post-reality universe, which is persistent and it is a multi-user environment that merges the physical and the digital, and it enables multisensory interaction and is interconnected with other people, then in order to achieve that, the metaverse has to include sensory stimuli. Now, if we know what sensory stimuli enhance the brain capacity, then we can implant them into the metaverse in order to be able to enhance humans. And this is what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the kind of sensory stimuli or experiences that can enhance the humans. I'm going to bring evidence from results from studies that I ran along the years and show you what kind of sensory stimuli could enhance human capacity. So I'm going to talk about several levels or several types of human enhancement. I'm going to talk about how do we lower mental load and whether the metaverse or the virtual world actually doesn't increase the mental load compared to two-dimensional visuals. Because we don't really know how difficult it is or how easy it is to perceive and to process visual information in the virtual reality. So I'm going to present a study that asks exactly this question, and I'll show you the results. How is the mental load, which is the resources, the neural resources, which are used in order to process visuals in a virtual reality, mixed reality, augmented reality, compared to simple 2D screens? Because if it is easier in 2D screens, maybe we should rethink how the virtual world looks like. And then I'm going to talk about expedited response time. How can I make humans, users, respond faster than their best performance, the highest speed they ever were able to respond. So, and then I'll talk about memory consolidation and how virtual world could be used in order to consolidate memory. I'll talk about error corrections. And the last part, which will be the major part of this talk, will be about biomarkers and eye dynamics, and what is it that I can extract from eye dynamics, and how can I use it in order to improve the experience and also to improve how the brain processes information. So first, I'm talking about 2D versus 3D ease of processing, the mental load in 2D versus 3D. So we had an experiment in which participants had to create origami. And the first group had to do origami based on an instructor that was in a 2D environment. The second group in a 3D environment, and then we switched. And look at the results. So on the left, it is the 2D. The green line is the average. On the right, it is the 3D in the virtual world. The green line, again, is the average. If you look at the green light on the left, you will see it's about a 1.2. If you look at the right, it is 0.8. What does it say? That even that the virtual reality is not a precise replica of reality, the mental load is lower by about 30% in a virtual world compared to 2D. When I talk to colleagues and I ask them, colleagues, neuroscientists at the Technion, and I ask them, what do you expect these results to be? Before I did the experiment, they said, a part said, about 50% said that in 2D it's going to be lower because you have to process less information. The other part said in 3D it's going to be lower because you do not have to guess the depths. So you see, 3D is much lower compared to 2D. And that says a lot about presentations displays in 3 dimensions. The performance in 3D for those that did in 3D was higher. You can see on the left, you see the average is about 70, and on the right, the average is about 90-something. So maybe I should just say that the bottom line is that learning and performance is by far superior in a virtual world compared to a 2-dimensional screen on which you present the instructions. The implications are, of course, for training. So now response time. Can we enhance response time? So what we did, we created this kind of virtual game, and people had to play a virtual tennis game. And we asked them to stop once they see a light or hear a sound or feel a small tip on their hand from a robotic arm named Phantom that we used. And if you look at the visual, the response time when they had only the visual was about 400 milliseconds. When they had only the haptics, it was about 325, and the auditory 317, no significant difference. But when we put all 3 together, it goes down to 218 milliseconds. So it's 40% lower. That means that by using multisensory cues, you can design the environment in order to provide not just one cue, which is visual, but multisensory cues that are well synchronized, then you can reduce the response time and allow people to expedite their responses. Why this happened, it's really interesting, but I'm not going to get into it. But just one sentence, the visual normally takes longer than the others. So enhanced memory. This is based on neurofeedback. So those who are not familiar with neurofeedback, just a short sentence of what it is. We measure the different brain oscillations, different frequencies of brain oscillations. And then we want the person to increase a particular channel, a particular frequency. In this case, we wanted to increase theta, which is between 4 to 7, 4 to 8 hertz. So once it is increased, we analyze the spectrum of the frequencies. Once the theta is increased, the person will see a visual. In this case, this person will move faster. If it is decreased, the visual will show this person moving slower. So the person gets a feedback whether they are managed to increase the theta. And everybody who knows how to do EEG, who turns into EEG, is able to do that. There are about 25% that find it very difficult to function with EEG neurofeedback. But out of those that I tried, everybody did that, and the maximum it took them, it was 3 minutes. So what happened? What we did is we helped people increase theta. We taught them a task, then we increased theta, and then we measured the level of memory. And if you look here, sorry. And if you look here, this is before neurofeedback. This is right after neurofeedback. And you see that the two control groups are much lower than the blue group compared to this one, which it is mixed. If you look after one night, because you get memory consolidation during the night, then the consolidation during the night based on the consolidation during the day through neurofeedback is even larger. So you see the difference here is larger, and it gets larger and larger with 2 more nights. So you can use the virtual world in order to resonate, in order to show, display features that help people control their own oscillations. And by that, consolidate memory of something they were trained to do, which also could be done in a virtual world. So the implications are that for training, this is something that could enhance training, make it more faster, more efficient. And we have results on that too, which I'm not going to show now. So error prediction. You know, think, for instance, this is a surgical procedure. So a person has to do a surgical procedure, and now the question is, can I make, if there is going to be an error before it is actually performed, before the error happens, will I be able to stop the system so that the error is not being done? It turns out that when you do an error, there is a special signal that comes up and can be picked up with EEG electrodes. So you can put electrodes on the scalp, and you can pick up the signal that corresponds to an upcoming error, so you can find out that an error is going to come up. And then if the surgery is done on systems like the Da Vinci, which is surgery from distance through a robotic arm, you can stop it in the middle so that error is not being done. You know, the Da Vinci works with a virtual system. I mean, the surgeon will see the operating site through a virtual system, so you can stop it before an error is being performed. This is what I consider to be the major part, and this is what I've been working recently, and now we have a startup which is based on this. So I'm going to ask what is it that we can see in the eyes. By analyzing the eye dynamics, what can we see there? So we developed, the name of the company is Neurocognition, we developed a system that analyzes the eye dynamics, and then so it monitors the eyes, and then we can enhance with remote stimuli. We can predict how the person will behave in the future by building profiles, and then we can act in order to enhance the person. So what do I mean by that? What is it that we can find? So we can analyze fatigue, but this is something which many people can do. This is not special. We can analyze attention shifts, not just lower or higher attention, but also shifts. What is the point of attention right now, and how high is it? We can analyze mental load and stress. We can analyze trust. A major issue, for instance, in the automotive industry is that people find it very difficult to trust the vehicle, the autonomous vehicle, making decisions for them. And there are many studies that show that people would prefer not to have a fully autonomous vehicle. This is one of the issues with autonomous vehicles. So trust. We're able to see excitation, arousal, and we're able to see fight or flight. So if somebody threatens you, I'll be able to see that in the eyes. And then if you're driving, for instance, and there is a car that gets into your lane, I will be able to see that you are threatened, and we will be able to predict that an accident is going to happen. And we can predict that about 2 seconds, 2.2 seconds for most people prior to the accident. So I was frightened of videos, so I put these photos instead of videos. If you look at this is myself in a simulator, driving simulator. These are my eyes, and this is what I see. The yellow-black circle is a signal that shows that I'm under very high stress. Why am I under very high stress? I don't know if you can see, but there is a small car here that is driving right into my lane. So my eyes picked it up, my brain calculated what's going to happen, and my unaware system decided there is going to be an accident and there is risk to my existence, and you have the fight or flight. And as a result, the yellow circle became black. Black shows that I'm under stress. And indeed, after a short time, you get the accident which you can see here. So the signal is right here. You can see the signal. And the issue is, as you can see here, that I get under stress before the accident. So these are about 2 seconds before the accident. Now, I'm 2 seconds, but some of the people that we actually tried it on, we ran it about 120 people. Some of the people we ran it on were able to see that 2.5 seconds. One of them was 2.7 seconds. That's because people differ in how fast they process information. Some people saw it only about 500 milliseconds before the accident. Some people saw it only after the accident. So it is how fast the brain processes information. About 25% of the people were able to catch it only in the accident or afterwards. So this is something that could be done when you train people in virtual reality, when people have to do tasks in virtual world in distance and so on. For instance, in cases where you see the virtual scene underwater or in other places, and they have to do it fast, and they are threatened because something happens there. Another experiment that we did is for training. So this is something we did with Toyota Bushuko. And what they wanted to do is to see what happens if you put an avatar entering your car, and that avatar is now going to be your instructor. In this case, he's going to be a tour guide. And it was real because a tour guide took me, in this case, to a place called the Toyota She Gardens. So she actually was touring and telling me what to see, explaining what are the different plants and what is the environment, what is the climate there, and so on. And our work was to try and analyze the interaction between the human, between the avatar, and it turned to be very similar to human-human. And here you can see what is the level of mental load in the different parts of the system. So in the beginning, this is the baseline. When she comes in, it goes up twice the baseline, and then it goes down, and the last part. So here the person gets bored. At the end, it gets, again, very high because she brought in a few new systems. So what can be done with this? It's a closed loop. It's like a brain-machine interface, but through the eyes. So capture, and then build a profile, and then act on the person in order to expedite response time, in order to relax if the person is too stressed out, and so, or do something if the person is fatigued, and so on. Presented at the CES 2020, and what we did there is that the person was sitting inside the car, and the audio and video, music and video, like MTV kind of stuff, was shown, was displayed. And if it was too loud, we were able to see the mental load in the eyes, so we could decrease it. So we changed both the visuals and the auditory according to what we got in the eyes. So the bottom line, the metaverse, the multiple virtual worlds, augmented worlds, can be applied for the benefit of participants. A closed loop of metaverse synergy and brain synergy for human well-being and enhancement is feasible. And using EEG, brain responses, behavioral patterns, eye dynamics can be applied to enhance memory consolidation, learning training, expedited responses, rehabilitation, and well-being. And there are still major issues, which are privacy, protection for children, health concerns, and so on. This is something that we need to take care of. Thanks.